Hello, my friend. In this video, we are going to make an introduction to a CRUD application that we are going to make. This is the application we are going to make. This is one board. Inside this board, there is a title and the description, and there is the status of this board. And there are two status. The first one is the public, the other one is the private. It is a really simple application. So to make this application by using the NESTJS, things to use in NESTJS when building this app, just, this is for just app structure. Since we are creating a board application, so we need a module for board named board module and an authentication module named us module. We are going to make a board application, so we need to have a board module to make the board feature, and we also need the authentication module to make the authentication feature, because only logged in user can make the board. So we need two modules. If we need to make more feature, we will probably have more modules inside this M module. So this is just a structure we are going to make in this course. But first, we need to make this board module. And if you look at here, there are more components like the controller and entity and service and repository and validation pipe. So in this second section, just we are going to learn one by one. First, we are going to learn the controller, and we will make the controller after that, and then we will make the service after we learn service. So after finishing this part, and we are going to make this us module part, and then we can just connect two of them together. So this is for the introduction to CRUD applications. So from next videos, we are going to really start this project. So thank you for watching this video, and see you later. Hello, my friends. So we are going to use the NestJS CLI again for starting our project. So first we need to go to the directory where we want to create our project. So I'm going to turn on the terminal here. I want to create my project inside this desktop directory. So in here, I can just type the nest new and the name of the project we are going to make. For me, I'm going to type nest board, because we are going to make the board application, so that's why I name it nest board app. So if I enter, so I'm going to use the npm for the package manager. So now we created the NestJS applications by the NestJS CLI. So I'm going to turn on the text editor. So I'm going to drag the folder we just made in here. So if we come in here, so there is a way we can run this application. So that is the npm start dev. This is defined in package.json. So if we come in here, if we come to the package.json file, so inside this script, there is a star script. So nest star. So there is also star, the dev script. This one is for the starting the development server for the NestJS application. So if I try to start this application, npm run start dev. So we need to go to the port 3000. So like localhost 3000. So you can see this hello world. So now we want to see the basic structures or explanation. So what this file is and what this file is. Like the first ESLint RC, like if you look at here, a library that helps developer write clean code with specific rules, suggesting guideline for using TypeScript, notifying you when there is an error in syntax. So when we are using the TypeScript, so we make some error. we make some syntax error in TypeScript. So when we make that error, this one notify us that is the error. So we need to change that syntax for the TypeScript. That is the what this ESLint RC file does. And there is also prettier RC. So if we come in here, so it is mainly used to format the code, whether to use the single quote or double quote. So this one, the prettier RC, you can see the single quote true. So that means we are going to use a single quote. So this one is the for the formatting, like quite similar the ESLint RC and the prettier RC, but it is actually different. This one is mainly for the code formatting. This one is for the syntax error. So you can see like that. And there is also nest CLI JSON file. So this one is a JSON file with specific setting for the Nest project. So and then there is also tsconfig JSON. So tsconfig JSON. TypeScript needs to be compiled first into the JavaScript so we can use it. This is the configurations for that compiling, and the tsconfig.build.json is this one. So we want to exclude when we compile the TypeScript source because we don't need to compile this node modules or test and this folder, and like this is also for the testing. So this is an extension of tsconfig.json. So tsconfig.json is for the compiling. So this one is the extension of this tsconfig.json. So there is a package.json. I assume you already know the package.json file. And there is also a src folder. This is the place where most of the business logic goes. So there is a main.ts inside this src folder, this main.ts. This one is entry point. So first we need to look at this part. Like we create the application and then we run our application 3000 port. So that's why this one is the entry point for this application. So now we just started our project and then we knew the basic structure for initial the NESTJS source code. So, so in our next video, we are going to talk about NESTJS logic flow. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello, my friend. Today we are going to talk about NestJS logic flow. So in our last video, when we turn on our application, we got this hello world text. So that means when we made a request to NestJS to our NestJS application, NestJS got that request from the browser and then try to deal with that request and then get the response back to browser. That response was the hello world text. That's why we can see this hello world text. So if we see here, in here, there was a client, and then client made a request to the like NestJS application. In NestJS application, the controller part get the request first, and then we can actually take care of this request inside the controller, but this controller give this request to the service part. Inside the service part, there is a return part. This is like when we get the request from the client and that method was get, and then endpoint for the request is like just a root, like here localhost 3000 root. If we get the request with this endpoint and get HTTP method, we will just return this hello world text back to the client. So first we got the request inside the controller and we try to deal with that request inside the service, and then we return it to the controller and then we also get the response back to client. So we got this hello world text back. This is the NESTJS logic flow. So it is actually really similar to the Express.js. Like if we see here, like inside the Express.js, we usually make the controller part, but the controller part is like just a service part in the NestJS. So when we make a request related to a user, we try to route that user request to user part. And then if that is about the authentication, we send that auth request to the auth part. And if that is about the board, yeah, we need to send that to the board part. But in Nest.js, this router part is like controller. But in Express.js, like the controller part is like the service part in Nest.js. It is the place is different, like place name is different, but the how they work is really similar, like the Nest.js and Express.js. They are just trying to route request based on what that request is doing. So yeah, this is how Nest.js deal with the request and take care of the request. So in our next video, we are going to talk about Nest.js module. So module is so important in Nest.js. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello, my friend. Today we are going to talk about what is a Nest.js module. A module is so important in Nest.js and it is actually essential, especially this M module. So inside this M module, which is so necessary, there are board module and auth module. This module is for the board feature and this one is for authentication. And inside the module, we need to have controller and service, and entity and repository. So first we need to talk about this module right now. So first we are going to look at the definition of Nest.js module. So module is a class annotated with the module decorator. The module decorator provides the metadata that JS uses to construct the application structure. And each application has one or more modules. The root module is the entry point used by NestJS. So that means if NestJS got the request from the client, yeah, this room module becomes an entry point for the request. And you can see this picture, that application module. This is a room module, and inside that, and there is a user module, order module, or chat module. So modules are an effective way to organize component into a set of closely related functions. And items corresponding to the same function are used by putting them in one module further. And modules are essentially singletons, so you can easily share the same instance of a provider between multiple modules. So like this, share module, so we can use this one, user module, order module, and chat module. So now we talked about the Nest.js module. So in our next video, we are going to really create the bold module first. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello, my friend. Today we are going to create board module. In our last video, what is Nest.js module? So it's time to create board module for the board feature. So we are going to make the board application. So inside the app module, which is a root module, we need to have a board module for creating a board and updating a board like that. So first, we need to organize the files to create from scratch because we got the initial structures made by the Nest.js CLI, like we type the Nest.js new project name, so we got the initial structure. So if we see our project here, like this one is the initial structure for the Nest.js. So we want to start from the scratch. So there are some files and we need to delete. So inside this app module, we are going to just delete this part, controller and provider. We are going to make the controller and provider later, so that's why we are deleting them. So we also need to delete the import part for the app controller and service, and we also need to delete this app controller, delete it, and controller specs and app service, and we can also delete this test folder. So now we only have M modules and this main TS. So this one is the entry point for the NESTJS application. So come back to diagram. So now we only need to have this M module and main TS inside the SRC folder. And now we can create a module. So a board module. So when we create a module, we are going to use the NestJS CLI. So this is the command lines we can use for creating a board module. So Nest is for the using Nest CLI. We are indicating this part, and G is for the generate, and module is for the schematic that I want to create. The board is the name of the schematic. So come to our text editor here and return the terminal inside in here, and we type nest ng generate and module. We are going to create the modules, and then board uh, is the name for this module. So if I type enter, we got these two lines. So create the module file and then update something. So we come in here. Now we got the boards folder. We didn't have this folder before, but after typing this command lines, we got this board file and then board module file, folder and file. So and then we got this update line. This one is for this M module file. So we actually didn't get any like a module in here, but automatically this one appears after we type this one. This means first this NestJS CLI automatically create this folder, boards folder, and then board module file here, and then trying to use this board module in this application. We just put this board module inside the M module because the M module is a root module. So we just put this board module inside this M module. Like to use the board module, or you just create it. It must be registered in the root module app that module.ts. This is automatically registers when creating a board module. So like that. So make sure it runs well, like our application runs well. If we want to make sure it, npm run start dev by. So we didn't get any error from this NestJS application. So we got that a board module installed really well. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello, my friend. Today we are going to talk about what is a NestJS controller. So controller is also really important in NestJS. So first we need to know the controller. So controller processes the incoming request and returns a response to the client. So if we get the request, HTTP request from the client side, controller that get request, and then after deleting that request, this controller returns a response to the client. And we can just make the controller like this. So we first make the controller class, like for the board controller, we can just type board controller, and we also need to put this controller decorator above this class controller. So controller is defined by decorating a class with the controller decorator. And the decorator takes argument as a pass that are processed by the controller. So we put this board paths. That means if the client makes a request with the path like local host and boards and anything like an item like that. So this path needs to be in this part. So if we have the different controller like the for authentication, so we need to have this decorator controller and then us like that. In this case, this one's path needs to be changed like us. So this argument is for the path. So and we also need to know the handler. Handlers are simple methods within controller classes decorated with decorator like get and post and delete. So inside the controller, we we are going to have a lot of handlers. This one is a handler, and we can also put more handlers in here. This handler is for the getting boards, like this action returns all boards, but if we want to post, like the create the boards, we need to have, we can just put that post decorator, like post and create board, and like we put some logic inside in here, like for creating the board, create board like that. So we can put many handlers inside this board controller. So if we come in here, so if we review the NESTJS logic flow again, so client made the request to the NESTJS application, and first the controller get that request. So there are a lot of the controllers like user controller and authentication controller or board controller, but based on the path of that request, the call is finding the controller get that request, and then uh, to deal with that request, we send that request to the service and we try to deal with the request and then send response back to controller, and again we send that response back to the client from the controller. So this one is a logic flow for the NestJS and what this controller does inside this NestJS. So thank you for watching this video, and in our next video we are going to create the board controller. So see you later. Hello my friends, today we are going to create board controller. So in our last video we talked about what is the controller. So first we can create the board controller by the NestJS CLI as well. So if we see this command line from the first, Nest is for the using Nest CLI, G is for generate the controller, is for controller schematic. So we want to create the controller, and then board is the name of the board, name of the controller. The dash dash no spec is for we are not going to create the file for those testing. So first we come to our text editor here, and then we are going to type nest jig generate controller and boards and no specs. So we can see this controller file just automatically created, and we come to our module file. So automatically this board controller, which was automatically created and registered inside this controller, this module. It is actually almost the same as the process of this creating the module. When we create the module by NestJS CLI, this board module was created, and then this module also was registered inside the M module. And when we create this board controller, we created this board controller, and then this board controller was registered inside the board module, like in here. It is almost same the process. So yeah, we this board controller was created inside the board's folder, then automatically this NestJS knows where this board controller needs to be created. This one is inside this board folder. So the order of the creating a controller when entering the commands with CLI. So CLI finds the board's folder first, and create a controller file inside a board folder. Here, this board controller.ts, and then find the module file in the board folder. Just find this board module file, and just put the controller inside the module file. This one, just this controller. It always needs to be registered inside the module, so we can use this controller. So this is it for the creating board controller. It was really easy because we can use this CLI so easily. So in our next video, so we are going to know the NestJS provider and service. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello, my friend. Today we need to talk about what is NestJS provider and service. First, we need to talk about provider. Provider is a fundamental concept in NestJS. Most of the base NestJS classes can be treated as provider, such as services, repositories, and factories, and helpers. The main idea of a provider is that it can be injected as a dependency. This means that objects can create many different relationships with each other, and most of the ability to connect instances of objects can be delegated to the Nest runtime system. So in here, what we need to focus is the injected, we need to inject the provider into the different module, into the different component. So there is A service, and B service. We can use A service and B service inside the controller A. So we can inject this service A into the controller A. So it is like the importing the another module inside this controller A or this B. So we need to use this injectable decorator to inject this service to the controller. Like the service is also provider, not just this service, but these factories and these repositories. We're also gonna make the repository later, and also the helpers. The helpers and repository and factories and service all are the provider. So provider can be injected into different controller or any other. So inside this NestJS, we always inject some things because we want to use that service or the repository inside this any other component. So now we briefly know that what is the provider, and inside the provider we knew that there is also a service. So we also want to know what is a service. The service is a common concept in software development. A service is a common concept in software development and is not a concept used only in NestJS and JavaScript. And it is wrapped with the injectable decorator and provided to the module. And this service instance can be used throughout the application. So the service handles tasks such as validating data in the controller or creating items in the database. So here we can see this service. So we want to use this service inside the controller. So we actually need to inject this service into controller. But there is also a way of how to inject service into controller. That's what we are going to study later. So how to use the service in controller. Without doing anything, we cannot use the service inside the controller automatically. We actually need to do dependency injection. As you can see above in controller, this app service get hello, like this app service get hello. What we actually did in here is we brought this get hello method defined inside this app service in this controller. But how can we just use this get hello method that is in the app service in this controller. Without doing anything, we cannot do like that. So we actually need to do the dependency injection that is in this part. Like inside this constructor, we actually do the dependency injection. We are actually using the TypeScript feature in here. Like we brought this the border service as a type, and we put this type inside this the property board service, and then we use that property like this board service and get board by ID defined in the service. So we are using this TypeScript feature. The way we can use this the private access modifier. So um, we cannot just use the access modifier like in JavaScript. The reason why we can use this access modifier is we are using the TypeScript. That is the benefit of using TypeScript. So we can use the private like this. But how we make this line, we are going to study next section and next video like this. So we are going to how to actually inject the dependency like this. So as you can see above, the board service is imported. The board service is imported. This board service is imported, injected from the controller class, constructor class. Then you are using private syntax. In this way, we define the board service and made it usable in controller. By doing like that, this board service is usable inside this controller. The reason we can do this is that we can use TypeScript's feature to reserve dependencies into types and registering a provider. So when we use the controller or module, we always need to register. Or even for this provider, we need to register to use it inside the NESTJS application. To use the provider, you need to register it in NESTJS before you can use it. To register, you can do it in the module file. Just to put the provider you want to use in the module in the provider section of the module file. Like if we come to our text editor and to see this module file, when we want to use the controller, we actually need to register it inside this the controller. And when we want to use this board module, we also register this board module inside this M module, like this board module. We even for the we are going to create the a service later, like in our next video. But after creating that service, which is the provider, we also need to register that service inside this the board module. That is like that, the provider and board service. That is what we are going to in our next video, and thank you for watching this video, and see you later. Hello my friends, it's time to create board service. Now that we know about the service, let's create the board service ourselves. In service, we will handle database related logic. So we will handle logic such as importing data from the database or inserting created board information when creating a board in the database. So yeah, even this time when create a board service, so we need to use the nest-CLI. So when we use the command line, that is the nestg service boards no spec. So first we come to our text editor. Here we type the nestg service and boards and no specs. So now we created the service and then we updated the board module. So first we create the service, the board service inside the board folder, and then we to use this service, we put that board service inside the provider that in the board module. And yes, if we see this the board service, we use this injectable decorator to use this service in any other module. So board service, when you create a service using CLI, the board service TS file is created like this. This generated file, there is an injectable decorator, or injectable decorator, and this NESTJS uses it to make this service available to other components. So, and when creating a service with CLI, the service is automatically added to the module. So in here, like in the module, inside this module, this service is automatically added in here. So to use this service, even inside this board controller, so making board service available to board controller, we need to do the dependency injection. In NESTJS, dependency injection is done in the class constructor, like in here. A class constructor, we put the board service, so we can use this board service inside the board controller. This part is for the dependency injection, but there is also order. That's how we can use this line. So first, if you come in here, the order in which the above source code was created. The above code is made possible with the help of TypeScript. Access modifier such as a private cannot be used in JavaScript but can be used in TypeScript. So originally this code needs to be like this at the first time. Like we use the constructor, we designate the board service object as a type. This one, we designate board service object as a type in board service parameter. Like this one is board service parameter, and to use this board service parameter in the board class, assign the board service parameter to this board service property. So this one is the board service property. We can use this property inside the board controller. So we just put this board service parameter into this board service provider. However, we also need to put this board service parameter up here. Like we are defining this property. Like without defining property, we cannot use this property inside the TypeScript. So this one is the parameter. This one, like this red color, is a parameter, and this one is a property. Property. So we can use this property like this. So originally this source code is like this, but how can we change this source code into this code? It is much simpler than this one. So the way how to change it like this is that we got the benefit of the TypeScript. Like we can use the access modifier like private or protected or public in here. So if we come in here, simplify the source code with access modifier. When an access modifier is declared in a constructor parameter, like we just declare this private in here, the constructor parameter using the access modifier is implicitly declared as a class property. Like it was without this access modifier, it was a parameter. But after we declare with this access modifier inside the constructor, this parameter implicitly becomes the property. So we can just use this property inside this handler and like this dot board service like that. So now we created our board service and we knew how to do dependency injection. So it could be kind of like confusing, but if you keep using this way, you would understand later. So thank you for watching this video and see you later.